Hi, and welcome to another episode of Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist. I'm your host and local real estate agent, Dennis Richkovsky. In previous episodes, I described my 5-step plan for how to select the coastal community in which you will focus your house hunting. And I also described my 5-step plan for looking at properties in Emerald Isle. In this episode, I described my 5-step plan for making an offer on a property in Emerald Isle, North Carolina. This same plan, with modest tweaking, also would apply for real estate you desire to purchase in other coastal communities on the North Carolina Outer Banks. Step 1 is visiting homes that appeal to you, homes that you have an interest in. You may have given me a list of homes, and based on your answers to my interview questions, I probably added a few homes to that list. That interview, by the way, enables me to understand your motivation, learn your price range, and discover what amenities are important to you, as well as your time frame. In all likelihood, we may have around 10 homes on our list. Maybe more, maybe less. I like to schedule showings in the morning when everyone is at their freshest. I don't like to look at more than 5 homes initially. Over the years, I've learned that by the time we get to the 4th home, that first home is a distant memory. Thankfully, today everyone has a smartphone to capture images and dictate notes. After we looked at those 5 houses, I recommend my clients have a nice lunch and discuss the homes they saw. If one or more homes appeals to my clients, we can circle back in the afternoon. We can rinse and repeat the next day, and so on, until we have visited every home on the list. Step 2 is all about my clients identifying the house of their dreams. This is often the most difficult step in the entire home buying process. I've had clients look at a house that checked all their boxes, and they tell me they have no interest in the property. If that happens more than once, I sit my clients down and review the answers they gave me in their initial interview. Have the goals or budgets changed? Did certain amenities get overlooked? And so on. I do this interrogation because I believe my clients engaged me to help them buy a house, not simply look at houses. And this is why I observe my clients' body language and why I listen to their comments, their likes and dislikes as they walk through a house. Sometimes buyers can't see the forest for the trees, and this wisdom also applies to real estate. And when that happens, I may ask my client, can you picture yourself preparing Thanksgiving dinner in this kitchen? Or can you see yourself entertaining friends out on this deck overlooking the water? It's all about believing that my clients have engaged me to help them buy a home and not simply look at homes. Step 3, if I did my job and my clients did their due diligence, they more than likely will tell me they are ready to make an offer on a particular home. At this point, I zip my lips and listen intently. This is both a very happy and anxious time for many home buyers, and experiencing these conflicting emotions is quite natural. And that is what I tell my clients. Eventually we get around to price. Everyone wants to brag about what a good deal they got, but sometimes their desire gets in the way of a good offer. It is my duty to present all offers, but I sometimes caution buyers that they are about to enter into a negotiation, and they get one opportunity to make a good first impression. And that impression should not be to insult the seller. I tell my clients that I wish for just one time they could stand inside the seller's shoes. Sellers have all sorts of reasons for selling the home they love, the home they made many memories in. Maybe there is a divorce, or perhaps a child died, or someone lost a job. In the end, I like both buyer and seller to feel good about the negotiations. That is not always possible, to be sure, but I always recommend to my clients that they start out that way. Step 4 is to get this offer down on paper. The standard residential form in North Carolina is the Offer to Purchase and Contract. That form has been jointly approved by the North Carolina Bar Association and the North Carolina Realtors. This form is now up to 13 pages, but for my purposes here, I will focus on only a few items. The first is the offering price, and that is self-explanatory. The second is the earnest money. Earnest money is not required by law in the state of North Carolina. However, when you are entering into a real estate contract, to make it binding or have consideration by both parties, earnest money is used. This is a good faith on the buyer's part that the buyer will perform under the terms of the contract. This amount is usually 1 to 2% of the offering price. This money is deposited into an escrow account, usually with the closing attorney, and is refundable if the parties do not go to closing. The third is the due diligence fee. The due diligence fee is negotiable and can range from $0 up to 1% of the purchase price or more, depending on the strength of the offer, the seller or buyer circumstances, and market conditions. The buyer and seller will negotiate this as part of the contract terms. The buyer writes the check to the seller. The due diligence money is for the seller to keep whether you decide to go with the purchase or if you back out, so long as the seller doesn't breach the contract. In North Carolina, a buyer has a level of protection and can get their due diligence money back if the seller breaches the offer to purchase and contract. Step 5 is the presentation to and acceptance of the offer by the seller. Suffice to say that I will use my considerable knowledge, personality, and negotiation skills to protect my client's interests throughout the negotiation process. If I did my job correctly, a final price will be agreed upon by both parties, and that price will be a reflection of my client's goals, the seller's circumstances, and the realities of the current real estate market. So now you have my 5-step plan for making an offer on the house of your dreams here in Emerald Isle or elsewhere along the Crystal Coast. In another episode, I will focus on the steps necessary to close on the vacation home of your dreams. Return next week to the same bat channel at the same bat time of 9 a.m. on Thursday for another episode of Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist.